Welcome to a world beyond audiovisual. Welcome to the AudioVisual Podcast.
Welcome to the AudioVisual Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Dean. Thank you all once again for joining us here on this episode. And today I have a pretty awesome young lady here that's joining us, and it is Taylor Aasen. Taylor, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for coming on the podcast here. It's awesome that we get to kind of talk a little bit about broadcasting careers, both of us kind of in different fields of broadcasting, or were in for some things, and then get into the new media, I guess you would say, for that. So before we kind of get started here, I always do basic icebreaker questions to get to know you a little bit more, and for our listeners to get to know you a little bit more. So are you ready for some icebreakers here for today?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to start here. Rapid fire questions. Pretty easy. What's your favorite color?
Pink.
Pink. All right. That's my daughter's favorite color too. So pink. Everything has to be pink. It is. It is. If you had to eat one meal every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Batman.
Batman. Okay, there's a lot of Batman movies or TV shows.
I like the trilogy series, the one with Christopher Nolan. Those are my favorites. So.
Yes, those are the good ones. What is your go-to karaoke song, or what's your favorite song if you don't do karaoke?
Oh, trust me, Kyle, we all do karaoke. So, my go-to karaoke song is "Before He Cheats" by Carrie Underwood.
Okay, that's a classic. Man, I remember when that song came out too, with Carrie Underwood just getting big and bigger yet for that. What is your favorite game? It could be board game, video game, anything like that.
Oh man, probably, I don't know, I guess Monopoly is fun. I do enjoy. I get pretty competitive with Monopoly. Yeah.
So does the game ever get completed though, if we're playing Monopoly?
Yes, it does.
It does?
Yes, it usually has to be completed because I'm a winner, so.
Okay, because usually when we play Monopoly here, somebody's crying or the table's flipped or anything like that. So usually for that. What's your most used emoji?
Probably a heart, purple heart emoji. Yeah.
Nice. Purple. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which one would you keep? Which 3 would you keep?
I would keep Facebook because I do keep in touch with a lot of my friends and family that way. I would also keep probably Snapchat because I love Snapchat. I don't know.
Yes.
I have a problem with it. But...
and then you have all the snap streaks and all that, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. Even with my niece, I have a snap streak going. So, yeah. And then third one, I don't know, does gallery count? Like your photo gallery?
Yeah, I would count that one. Yes, it's usually built in, isn't it, with the phone or stuff like that?
But I think you can delete it if you want to. So
you can. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, those are 3 good ones. And do you have like thousands of pictures on your phone? Because I have like cats and kids all on mine. So
yes, I do. I do. I'm a picture taker, but I've never regretted that in my life. So yeah.
It is kind of fun with the kids. We look when they're a baby, like 8 years ago or so, and then all of a sudden they look at the actual pictures and they're like, I remember that. I'm like, no, you don't. That was like 8 years ago when you did that. So
they remember though, Dad. They remember.
They do. It's weird, but they do. Would you rather sleep in late or take a long nap in the midday?
Sleep in late.
Sleep in late, yes. Mm-hmm. What would your superpower be and why?
Probably invisibility because I'm nosy.
I mean that's good in many aspects at the same time, but invisibility, that's a good one. And then last but not least, for kind of the icebreaker questions, who is your hero?
My mom, for sure.
Your mom? Okay. Yep. And we'll probably talk about that here a little bit during the podcast. Taylor, thank you very much for doing those quick icebreakers for all that. It's always fun to kind of see what each guest has and for favorite colors and TV shows and stuff like that, just to get to know you a little bit more here on that.
Yeah.
So let's dive in here a little bit. I want to go back here to a little bit about your childhood growing up in Mohall, right? Is that where you grew up? So not that far from here, from the Minot area or so. Can you just kind of explain your childhood starting from the beginning and kind of get to where you're at and maybe in the college era?
Well, we won't get into all of it,
no,
so to speak, but yeah, I was born and raised in Mohall, North Dakota. I guess I was born in Minot, but raised in Mohall. I grew up with my dad, my mom, and one other sibling. My brother Tanner. He's about 4.5 years older than me, and yeah, just growing up, I think. Again, not to get into too much detail, but I would say it was a tough childhood. Not many kids, looking back, I don't think many kids experience going through the things that I went through with my mom, so to speak. I grew up in the newsroom. My mom, she was a reporter anchor for KX News for about 25 years, I think it was, somewhere around there. And, she would just always take us on, stories, on trips with her. And I just loved it. I loved seeing her passion, for people and just her, I guess, passion for God even, and how she integrated that in her reporting and her work. And I don't know. She's obviously, like I said in our icebreaker questions, she's my hero. And so she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I know I was in kindergarten, I think, about at the time when she was diagnosed. Kindergarten or first grade. It's hard for me to remember back. So she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and I think it took about 10 years. Or so, and she died when I was about 17 years old. So no, I was 16, so it was 5 days before my 17th birthday. That's why I always get confused. So
yeah
that was a big, I don't know, hurdle obviously in my life. Anyone who loses a parent knows the struggle, but especially at a young age. I was a bad kid. I rebelled. I wore leather jackets. I smoked cigarettes. I was like a drinking, I did it all. And I think it really did, unfortunately, if I look back, her dying, unfortunately, did make me into, I think, a better person. So yeah, I went to Mohall High School, I guess. Sorry, not to backtrack here, but
no, you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Mohall my entire life. I graduated, and then after I graduated, I kind of got into a bad relationship. And long story short, with that, he didn't really let me go to college at the time, so I took a few years off. And just recently, I think it was like 2021, I finally got out of that relationship, and I decided to go back to school and follow my dream. And that's kind of how I ended up kind of where I'm at now. So, yeah.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there, no doubt about that. Just no, that you don't need to apologize at all, because it a very unique experience. I mean, I don't know, lack of words of what to call it exactly besides that. But did your mom still work during that kind of 10 years diagnosis and stuff during kind of in the newscast yet?
Yeah, she worked as long as she could, really, through a lot of it. She didn't die from Parkinson's. She died from complications that come with the disease.
Okay.
And I should make that clear, because people in the Parkinson's community will yell at me. But yeah, so she I think stuck it out until I think it was 2009, I want to say. And they basically, from my understanding, forced her into her retirement, because her health was really taking a toll at that point. She was like falling asleep at work because of the medications, and like she really couldn't do a whole lot ability wise. So they ended up, having to let her go because of her health, pretty much. And then from there, she went and worked at the nursing home in Mohall for a couple of years as like a activities director, basically. So yeah, she did that for a few years, and then she finally retired. I can't remember what age she was, but she passed away when she was 50.
And I have to say, I remember watching on KX News, watching your mom do all the stories, and I remember her stories were always personable, very good at what she did interviewing wise. Did she also do the teacher ones, I believe, the teacher interviews and stuff? And I remember that because I remember we were, oh man, was it 5th or 6th grade? And we were about to go on a Montana trip, and she did the Golden Apple Award, I remember, for that, and coming to interview our 5th grade teacher about what we were doing and stuff. So she had a huge influence, no doubt, in a lot of this area, and that's just awesome. And you said you got to go with several of these interviews and stuff like that, right? What did you have a memorable one that you kind of, just kind of tagged along with her?
I guess I was just so young that it's kind of hard for me to really pinpoint anyone, but I remember a lot with Tom Schrader, I guess. That's when I remember.
I know Tom. Good
Yeah.
old Tom.
I was actually going through some old VHS tapes, and I have more to go through, but I found some of our old "Hey Tom, how's the weather?" And my mom would it wasn't just "Hey Tom, how's the weather?" It was like, no, we're gonna orchestrate you guys. Like there was one of me and my brother throwing a ball back and forth, and we had to do cuts and stuff. And so I just think that that's what really, I don't know, like I think TV has always been in my blood in that way, just because my mom made us like do things like that. So yeah,
that's so awesome, just hearing stories like that, and it definitely played a huge influence of kind of what led to your career at, I guess, starting at BSC, right? Why did you look at BSC? Because I know there's so many broadcasting schools, and choosing one is always hard. Because I remember I toured 4 or 5 of them before picking where I went to. How did you pick out with BSC?
Well, there's multiple reasons I picked BSC. I guess the first reason would be it wasn't too far from home. So my dad is now also sick, and he hasn't been doing so well. So I didn't really want to go too far. I don't know. Minot just wasn't. I wanted to get a little bit further away than that. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that was one reason I went. And then the second reason was I remember touring their campus with my dad, actually. And I walked in and I saw their studio, and I think my jaw dropped to the floor. Like literally, I was like, this is so cool. Like they have better equipment than we had at KX. Like, I mean,
wow.
It's top of the line stuff. So it was really cool. And I was like, this is it. This is awesome. And third reason would be that my mom also went to BSC. So she started her career at BSC and then went to Minot State. And I kind of did backwards. I did online at Minot State for a year and then went to BSC. So, and actually a funny little side story with that, when I was attending BSC, I, for some reason, had this epiphany. I'm like, oh yeah, my mom used to write for the paper here. So I went and looked at the archives, and I found some of her articles in the archive.
Wow.
So it was really
so
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just awesome to hear how everything connects with that. And BSC, I've heard nothing but good things about them too. Bismarck State College, by the way, for everybody that's listening that doesn't know what BSC is, as we're just talking here, like, yeah, we know what BSC is, but for that. And do you keep in touch with any of your former, I guess you could call them colleagues, but your college classmates or anything like that? Because, I mean, you were there for a couple of years, so...
Yeah, so while I was there too, I guess I should mention that I was the producer of the show on campus, Mysticast, and so that came with a paid, kind of role. I had to get like, I think it was some weird like 20 hours a week, something like that. And then I also, I guess I should say that. So I was kind of in a leadership role, and I became really, really close with one of their professors there. Karen Bauer, and she spells it with a lowercase k, just so you know, because she's not like other Karens. That's what she says. So, and she's just amazing.
That is pretty good. I'll give you that. I remember I have exchanged emails with her before, and I always saw the lowercase k. That is a very good reference. Anyway, continue. I'm so sorry. That was good.
I love her so much. She just inspired me in so many ways, and I do still keep in contact with her the most, I would say. A lot of my classmates, it was I don't know, I think this is just journalism. I think people get into it and they're like, whoa, no thank you. I started out with like, I think it wasn't very many in the class to begin with, but we had like at least 10 in the classroom. And I ended up graduating with one other guy. So Zachary Wyand, he now works for the Bismarck Tribune. I believe he still is working with them. So yeah, okay. I still keep in contact with him and run in on him with stories and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, it's been fun.
Well, that's really cool, and it is always fun to, you know, connect with your professors, and really they're a guidance to you. I'm still contact my broadcasting professor. He's been on my resume for about 20 years now, so give or take on that. So that's awesome to hear, and the connection at BSC, the small community, and journalism. I think you hit the nail on the head, because when you get into it, it's just like you're wearing many hats, but it entails a lot of hours and blood, sweat, and tears to get where you need to be, or where you want to be.
Yeah, just think it's glamorous, and it's not. Yeah, so
no, it isn't. So, and then what was after college? And what did you head into the news industry right away then?
Well, actually, I was in the news industry while I was in college. So the same time I began at BSC, I applied for a job at KX as a camera operator. So the same time I was doing full-time school, I had a side job at school, and then I had another full-time job at KX. So I was a busy girl for a few years. So I started out there as a camera operator in 2021, August of 2021.
Okay.
And I think it was like 3 months in, and our weekend weather guy was leaving to go to another job in like Wisconsin. And so I jokingly was like telling our other meteorologists, I was like, well, I'll do it. I'll point at the green screen and say things about the clouds and stuff. And they took me seriously. So
oh no.
Yeah.
That's a good oh no, but yes.
But I think it was like a couple months after that. I started in August, and then my first day on air, I want to say, was in February of 2022, something like that. With the green screen, I remember in college we always wore green, and then we always had floating heads. I don't know if you ever did that, but that was always just funny, I thought. We did similar projects. We had some projects where we had to like, you know, use the green screen. I made myself into Mario, so I mean, it's always fun.
That's so awesome. Yeah. But it's fun. Broadcasting's so much fun with just what the tools you get to play with and the technology and stuff like that. So moving on to, like, you went to camera, to weather, to eventually anchor, and, you know, doing news stories, and your news stories, and kind of leading into Taste TV here pretty soon. But human interest stories have been your forte, haven't they?
Well, I mean, I think, again, that goes back to my mom. And not only that, before I began college, I was bartending. And I think that's what really, I had a lot of like people, regulars, you want to say, but they're family. I don't know. They're family back home. And they were all just really encouraging of me to go and follow my dream. And I think it just kind of connected to me one day when I was bartending. I was like, man, I just really love sitting and listening to these people's stories. Like, a lot of them are war veterans, and sorry, I don't want to cry because my uncle just died. So God bless, and thank you to those who have served. But, you know, I just love listening to those kind of people because they want their story to be heard, and you can tell it in their eyes when they're talking to you. And if you're not going to share it, that's fine. But as long as you're listening to them and making them feel heard, I think, and that's what's most important. So I think it just clicked with me one day. I was like, oh my gosh, this is why my mom did it for so many years. This is why she loved it so much, you know? And So I think that's what kind of really pushed me into that area. And when I first started at KX, obviously camera operator into weather person and then reporting, but they don't let you just like pick your, story.
No,
that's not how it works. So they had the segment Someone You Should Know. And I wanted to do that since the day I started. Actually, my mom helped begin that series. So I really, really wanted to get my hands on that series, not only because of the human interest side of it, but you got more time with those pieces. Whereas like a regular day of reporting, you have to do 2 stories, maybe people listening will know the lingo, maybe they won't, but you have to do basically 3 stories out of those 2 stories, like a VOSOT and then a package and then a VOSOT out of that package. And you have to have that in by 4 p.m. the same day. It's a lot and it's pressure. But the Someone You Should Know series, you got to take the whole week on it. You know what I mean? So I wanted to get my hands on that. So I eventually did. I finally made my goal happen by making my way into the morning show with Miss Alicia.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I loved it so much. And it goes back to the bartending thing. I did have a few people who I interviewed. Marvin Baker was one of them. And I don't know if you know the name because he is
I don't know.
Okay. He's a journalist around the area and he's been around for a while. He actually knew my mom too. So I did a story on him at BSC, and I just remember him looking at me, and he was like, "You're different. You listen to people, Taylor. You're different, and don't give that up." So yeah, I don't know. I hold that with me, I guess. So
it's so much fun hearing all the different people that have influenced you and to where you're at now. You had your highs, you had your lows. But you're right now need to where you need to be, I would say, and what you need to do here. And Taste TV right now has become kind of, would you say, like a love letter of everything of what you got to what you went through to where you're at now. And this is just a passion that you just want to continue in some way or form, isn't it?
Big time. Yes.
Yes.
That was the hardest part about, I don't want to get into details, obviously I can't, but The hardest part about leaving KX was the passion that I had for telling those stories. And I didn't want to give that up. And you know what? I didn't. So I'm really happy that I didn't. And I might not have the fancy equipment. I use my phone, but you know what? It gets the job done. And
yes, it does. Yep. It's
been working just fine. And I also like the fact that with broadcast, they have a time limit on you. I definitely broke that rule plenty of times. I had some 7-minute stories on air some days, but now I don't have anybody telling me what I can and cannot do with how much time I can make these stories. So I think I had one a few weeks ago that was 10 minutes long, which is probably way too long, but I don't know. No. I just feel like it's so hard to fit somebody's life story in just a couple minutes. You know what I mean? So
it is. And I haven't done as many as the personal stories or anything like that. But when they have so much to say and then you have to try to cut out stuff and it's well, that's important. It's just getting the whole picture in 10 minutes is way, it's better because I think I'm in the aspect too, where your podcast, a lot of people 20-minute podcasts, that's perfect. That's what people listen to. But you don't get the whole complete story when you do 20 minutes compared to a 50 minutes. And you can always break it up. I mean, that's the best part. You can always pause, play whenever, but it's that. I guess that leads to my next question. What do you think media is kind of leaning towards now as we enter 2025 to the future? Because podcasting has become huge. Anything digital media, social media, 10 seconds of TikTok videos and stuff like that. What do you think the future holds for broadcasting in the next maybe 5 years or so?
I do think a lot of it will be online for sure. I say that because if you look around, the broadcast industry as a whole right now is not good. It's pretty much failing. Yeah. People are being laid off everywhere around the country. And aside from that, AI.
Yes.
I mean, I've even seen some countries that are now using news anchors as their AI news anchors.
Yeah.
And granted, I know people say, "Oh, we wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want that," but you might not even know. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that I think does set that apart is if we do go online, because this is broadcast, right? They're on TV. They're like, we can't pay another news anchor. Let's just use AI. So people are going to turn to online, I do think, to find that genuine human connection again, because that's ultimately what people really want, I think.
I agree on that 110%. More of my background has been radio broadcasting, and a lot of that has become automated now by far. And to have a show, like a live show, it's very rare now, but the only way that you can have a live show now is having that personality, that connection in some way that you could connect with your listeners, I've noticed. And that's why there's only a few shows anymore. Like, there's the big ones, don't get me wrong, but the local ones, there's not much local radio anymore and stuff like that. Local TV is totally different now because of the digital aspect, the what's available, what can you do when an AI can do it in 10 seconds and stuff like that. So very, very good insight, I would say, on that. And I love what you're doing with Taze TV. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more, kind of how this idea came about? You kind of already did, but what's your goal with Taze TV? You're just starting it, so I'm very curious.
Well, when I was just starting, so I guess I should say I was probably jobless for the last few months. Because I was waiting to start a new job, which I did now just start, which I'm loving so much. But
congrats, by the way. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's been fun because I still get to continue my passion there in ways that I didn't know I would be able to. But that was really the biggest thing, was that I wanted to continue my passion for telling people stories, and not only just like people's stories, but some that like, I think I'm good at getting to people's heartstrings. I am, because I've been through a lot in life. Aside from my mom dying, I've been through a lot. So I think God put me through things like that in order to share other people's stories and make people feel connected. And aside from that, now I can tell my own story too, which I've slowly started to do. And it's scary because it's, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to my personal story. I'll come out with an autobiography one day, but
that's gonna be awesome. Like, it's gonna be like, are you gonna do video autobiography, or are you gonna like write it? And that would be interesting, the video
I
side.
want to start out by writing it, and then I think I want to make it into a movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Taze TV, you've already kind of started. I see you have Mondays, of course, is your episodes, right? Is what you're looking at. Yeah. Trying to. And life and a full-time job. I mean, I understand podcasting. I have a full-time job. This is kind of a hobby right now more than anything for that. Tuesdays, you kind of do some tidbit stuff, aren't you, or something like that, right?
Yeah, I've been trying to. I mean, again, I've kind of cut back just a little bit since I've now started my full-time job and trying to get my bearings under my feet again, just to feel out my schedule. But I started doing 2 Cents Tuesdays with Tay.
There it is. Yes.
Yeah. I kept getting it wrong at first too, but it's been just fun. I'm like, I get to tell my opinion, and I
love it.
I don't get political, but it's like, more entertainment news kind of stuff. Like, I've been talking a lot about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and I don't know, this is fun.
Yeah, that is an interesting story too. I don't know what's going on, but you see something about it when you scroll through Instagram or TikTok all the time. It's like, whatever. I don't have to deal with it. It's just another thing, you kind of like, okay, that's what they're doing over there. So
mindless. I don't know. It's kind of just mindless. You don't really have to think about that kind of news. I think that's it's just kind of fun. So, yeah.
Well, I also want to kind of dive in here, and you've mentioned your faith a lot, and I love that because I'm trying to become more of a faithful person. It's a journey. That's all I can say. It's a journey on that. Would you say that your faith has become very entailed with what you do now too, and all that?
Yes, I would say so. I think it goes back to my mom. Honestly, she. let me tell you, she had a different way of disciplining my brother and I growing up. For instance, like, I don't know, I think there was one time my brother, he was really being noisy with his Batmobile or whatever, and it was so annoying, and he wouldn't stop. And so she made him go donate it to a boy with cancer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And she made him take it to this boy. And my brother was just, he always jokes, he looks back, he's like, I wish I still had that Batmobile. But, it's just, those are things that she kind of made us do growing up. And I look back and I'm appreciative of it. I think there was a while after she died that I kind of lost a little bit of that faith, especially being in such a dark place in a bad relationship. Your mind goes bad places. And the only thing that I found that I really have at the end of the day is God. And, it's just me and God, and he's going to always have my back no matter what. And I don't know, like I said, it's been a journey because things keep happening. My faith, I feel like, is continuously tested, but I think there's a reason for that. And I think it's to spread his word in some sort of way, because I have a voice and I'm going to use it. So I think there's a Bible passage that actually says that if God gives you a voice, you're supposed to use it to speak his word.
It's one of your gifts. One of your gifts.
Exactly.
Yep.
In God's word. So I don't know. It's just, I think it's definitely hard to keep my faith going, especially in those times that I'm being tested. But I definitely come out stronger and better and more appreciative. Like, now I know I can come out on the other side and be like, okay, God, now I see why you put me through that, and yeah, it's just like lessons that he teaches us are not easy. So, yeah.
And when you have support, other faithful people with support, I think that helps with your journey with your faith and stuff too. And I think that's one thing all of us need to just on our journey with our faith and stuff like that. And I just have to say thank you for being open on this. This is very awesome that you're being open in your journey itself. And it's not easy. I can tell it's not easy kind of with everything going on and for that. So thank you again for just kind of opening up for that, for your journey and still continuing
an open book,
this.
Kyle, so
you're an open book?
I am, pretty much, yes.
Well, let's see.
Do you want to dive in is the question. So.
Oh, here's a random question. Marvel or DC? No.
Well, okay. DC has better storylines, but
that was random, but hey, that works. So you make people feel at ease during interviews here, and kind of wrapping this up a little bit. What advice would you give other young journalists that are, I would say, maybe in the college career field right now or getting close to graduate? Because not long ago, you were a college student that was getting ready to go into the journalism world. What would you say to those students right now that are getting close to enter a career?
I would say if you're going into it for the wrong reasons, you're not going to last. And that was another thing my mom was very big on teaching people about too, was going back to like, it's not as glamorous as it seems. Being on TV, all that stuff, it's not as glamorous as it seems. It's hard work. It's mentally, it's physically, it's all the exhaustion. Like, you're working like 15 to 20-hour days some days. Like, it's not as easy as people think it is. So I think you really, really, really have to have the passion for people and what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to last. And I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. It's just, I think you truly just have to have a passion. And if you're not in it for the right reasons, it's not gonna, I don't think it will last long for you. Sorry.
And I'm kind of worried about people becoming like, they're going into this broadcast field or something to become, lack of a better word, content creators and thinking they can make it big by streaming on Twitch every night or something, or going on YouTube and becoming a Mr. Beast overnight and stuff like that. And that's what I wish. That's the thing. I'm kind of worried about that, and that's kind of the mindset these days because of those influencers. What, lack of a better word, again, that's what it's called. It's just one of those things that just like you have that passion to tell people stories, but people are just doing it to try to get famous.
Well, and
That's kind of
another
what we're
thing,
saying.
going back to a little bit of like how broadcast is changing, like you're right, people are going on TikTok and finding their news there. And it's like, how do you know that's like truthful information that you're finding? It's just people spewing information at you that you don't know is true. So I think that, you know, as a journalist, you have the duty to not only tell the truth, but call out the people who are not telling the truth, you know? And I have done that a few times. I've caught some influencer, not, I don't know. I don't want to call anybody out locally, but yeah, there's been some local people. I'm like, what are you doing? You're hyping people up. Like, don't, just for like the attention. And it's really sad, I think, but.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very sad. What's one dream interview you would like to do if you had the opportunity?
Yes, I know this one. Okay, Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. Okay, you got to explain why Morgan Freeman.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure he's the closest thing to God on this earth that we have. He's played God how many times in movies?
You're not joking about
and
Bruce Almighty and all that. Yeah.
He's also got a documentary where he goes around like and talking to other people's religions and stuff. I'm like, this man is like, I think he would just have a great conversation, and that's. I love having great conversations. So yeah.
I do like his voice because it gets really deep and you can just do it. It's not like a movie theater voice, but it's just like that voice is iconic.
You know the voice when you hear it.
You do. You by far know it for that. Yes. So he's a national treasure by far with that. Well, that's awesome. So how can other people support your Taste TV or anything that you're doing in the future and stuff? What's the best way?
Like, share, comment, subscribe, follow. I tell people to go sell their soul to me, but don't really do that.
Don't do that.
Just kidding. But literally, I mean, I think those numbers really do matter. Mm-hmm. The platforms are changing now. Like YouTube's, I just found out that it used to be if you get 1,000 followers, you start getting paid, excuse me. But, yeah, so that's changed now. Once you get to like 1,000, you unlock like different levels as you get higher and higher. So like, again, those likes, those shares, those comments, follows, all of it matters. It really does.
All the engagement, the lack of better word in marketing. Yes, engagement. Yeah. So any future plans coming up for Taste TV? I know you just kind of get started. What are you looking at for the future here?
Well, I guess for the near future right now, I have a story coming up Monday. I need to start editing that, actually, putting that together. But the story is on LaVon Erickson, and she's been the owner of the Renville County Farmer newspaper for about 25 years, something like that, a little less than that. And she was recently diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. So she was forced to sell the paper in Mohall, and she's not doing so well. So I interviewed her, and I interviewed her brother and goddaughter and another family friend. So again, it's local people, and these are people that I think other people in North Dakota want to hear about. You know, it's people that you guys know. You know, it's your neighbor. It's North Dakota. And yeah, so that's the near future, I guess. And I have some other stories lined up in the far future. It's just gotta free my weekends up and, you know, spend time doing that. So,
and I appreciate coming on the podcast here and just kind of chit-chatting a little bit, telling your story. And by the time the podcast comes out, your story will probably be done. So guys, check that out here for Taylor and stuff like that. Social media handle, where can people find you, just if they need to search it up?
Okay, there's a few. So
I love it.
No, I'm just kidding. Taylor Aasen, which is AASEN on Facebook. You can follow me there, which is my biggest following for some reason. And then YouTube is at Tays News. And then I think I have a TikTok, which is like Taylor Aasen.
I think I have a TikTok.
Just search my name on a social platform. You'll be able to find me. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
At Taze News on YouTube, though. So, yeah.
There you go. You're trying to push the YouTube one, I think, a little bit more. It's kind of yep, and I completely understand that one too, by far. My personal question here, based on editing video. What do you use to edit video? I'm just curious.
I use Adobe Premiere. I did.
Okay.
I ended up just buying a subscription because I'm like, if I'm going to be doing this, I'm just going to do it, Yeah. So I'll pay the $35 a month and use it. But I love that. I love that platform.
Yeah.
So
And the best part is trying to get those sponsorships. Get a $35 a month sponsorship. There you go. You're helping Taylor by easily edit the videos that she's bringing great content to you guys.
There you go.
So
only
there you go.
$35 a month.
Anything else you would like to add? The good classic broadcast question that you always ask. Is there anything else you would like to add here today?
I guess I just want to say thank you to anyone who's listening to this and has been supportive of me. Thank you, Kyle, for having me. And I mean, it just, like I said, it all matters. I think, like, going back to a little bit of what you said, your circle really matters. And I don't think without the great people that I've had in my life supporting me, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. I think I would have given up a long time ago, so to speak. But yeah, no, I just appreciate everyone, and thanks to God too. So
amen. Love that. Thank you again, Taylor. It means a lot for you coming on the podcast, telling your story. Wasn't easy. Love to really just dive into local broadcasters and where they are and what they're doing, and just a little support for you that I can give, hopefully, here by being on the podcast. So, Taylor, thank you very much again.
Well, thank you, and I would love to share it on my platform as well. You pat my back, I pat yours, right?
Yes, agreed on that.
Okay.
Thank you again. Once again, that was Taylor Aasen here on the AudioVisual Podcast. Make sure you check her out for all the YouTube, Facebook, maybe a TikTok, I guess, on that. But YouTube, definitely check out the YouTube to subscribe on that. It'll help her out immensely. Once again, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time here on the AudioVisual Podcast.